First player I want to talk about as from the interior offensive lineman is another Wisconsin player. The next two kids we're going to talk about are Wisconsin players. And that is Billy Schrauth from Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. He goes to St. Mary Springs High School. Listed at 6'5", 285. He is ranked by Rivals as the number 114 player in the country, the number 2 guard. 247 Sports ranks him as the number 173 player in the country, the number 7 interior offensive lineman. And then ESPN has him as the number 225 player in the country and the number 4 guard. I think Rivals is closer to this one. I have Billy as sort of a top 100 to top 120. Actually, I have him kind of a, sort of an 80 to 110, 120 kind of range is where his grade fell for me. And this is a kid that I like a lot. Now, I liked Billy Schrauth as a sophomore. I didn't love him as a sophomore. I didn't see as a sophomore a guy that had great athleticism. I saw a big, tough kid, but I didn't necessarily see great athleticism. He's another kid that had a spring season. So Wisconsin didn't allow them to play in the fall, so we didn't get a chance to see much of him. He had a spring season, and I was very, very impressed with what I saw from Billy Schrauth. So let's get his film up on the board, and we're going to watch him. So Billy is playing guard for St. Mary Springs. We're going to check out. There's he doesn't have like a single highlight film. He's got some game film, so we're going to watch a couple different games of Billy Schrauth. All right. The first thing I like about him is I think he's a really, really quick and explosive off the ball. Very athletic player, especially for 285. I think he moves extremely well. He plays a surprisingly good pad level for a 6'5" kid. He plays against a lot of shorter offensive linemen. I don't think he's as necessarily fundamentally sound as Joe Bruner, but I think athletically I really like what I see from him. And the other thing, he's listed at 285. I see a great frame. He get a little high, but watch how he's able to kind of keep his eyes downfield and watch how well he turns up the field here on this pull. This is an impressive play here. He also plays defensive line, and that's where you can really see his athleticism. Really, that's actually, for an offensive lineman, that's pretty good movement, very good closing speed. He's got very long arms. Now, Billy Schrauth is the kind of kid that when I watch him play, he's a guard. I thought as a high school kid, he was a pure guard, but as a junior, he actually showed me some ability that he could potentially play tackle if you needed him to. And I think he's got a little bit better flexibility and foot quickness than Joey Tanonen does. So I think between those two guys, if you don't get, Zach Rice or one of the other tackles, Jake Taylor, he's a kid that I think could have a chance to play tackle with some coaching. I think his issues as far as not being a tackle are more about technique than they are anything else. Here he is playing defensive line again. Look at those hands. Really like those hands. Watch how fast they are. Again, he's playing defense here. Really quick hands. He's not a defensive player in college, not at a place like Notre Dame, but I do think he's a kid that he's a really good high school defensive player. And I think that's something that helps him really be an effective blocker. Let's get this next clip up here. I want to make you guys have to sit through that Smokers commercial again. Watch this quickness off the ball. He's playing nose tackle here. Again, I want to see him get the pads a little low, but that is a really good burst off the line. Really good burst off the line. Look at that length. Love that. Now, he doesn't really shoot his hands, just kind of places them, but watch how he locks this guy out. Really like that. Good pad level there. This is a play I was talking about earlier. So he does a decent job of keeping his shoulders. He kind of turns his shoulders just a little bit, but he keeps his hips square. Allows him to quickly get off and get outside to the second level. That's a really, really good play, good instincts there, and good athleticism. But I really like this kid's burst off the line. I like his natural power. I think as he continues to fill out and adds more strength and weight room strength and then adds about another 15 or 20 pounds, I think is what he can get up to. He's got a really impressive 285-pound body. Again, that's good quickness, good pad, not great, but good pad level off the ball. Really quick off the ball. He's a really good athlete, in my opinion, and I've really been impressed with just that burst that I see from him. Now, again, I'm projecting a little bit to the offensive tackle part of whether I could play it, but because he's a guard in high school. But I think that there are some traits there that make me think he could have a shot to play that position, and a lot of it is about what he does on defense because you see him in space a little bit more. I'm just going to watch a little bit of him because I don't want to click through 8 different games. We're just going to watch a little bit of his highlights. But look how quick he gets off the ball here. He's a left guard again, just explodes off the ball. He's up in that guy's chest before that guy's barely out of his stance. And then they're third down. They're just running a little quick dive right behind him. That is an impressive block right there. He's got to learn to use his hands better, but I think he has strong hands from what I can see. I just want to see him learn to use them. Like Jake Taylor kind of overdoes it a little bit. Billy doesn't use them much at all the way that I want. But just watch how, these guys are like not prepared for him. Like they're barely out of their stance and he's already up and under their pads and just driving them off the ball. This is really, really good quickness. Now you could argue that maybe he's just a tad out of control as far as like a little bit too much forward lean. And against a better defensive lineman, they may kind of make him miss there. But you can coach that up. What you can't coach up is just the attitude, the demeanor, and the quickness with which he gets off the ball. But the other thing, too, is this is great balance. Because actually, if you watch it here, and I'm going to try to stop it right when I want. So he's leaning a little bit too much there, right? A little bit too much of a forward lean. But he doesn't fall down because he's got very, very good balance. He's able to cover and just put that guy on the ground. It's a really impressive play there by Billy Schrauth. Just the last couple clips here, and then we're gonna be done with Billy. It's a really nice pad level, much and much better control there. So you see how he's not as forward of a lean. So like this play, he's got a little bit better leverage. So he gets low, right? So you can see he's underneath this guy. He's the low man off the ball, but his back isn't as flat. Like you want a nice flat back in your stance, but he kind of sometimes will lean and keep that back flat. And that's when he gets a little bit too much of a forward lean. This is much better right here. It's a really nice play from Billy Schrauth. And that's going to be it of the film that we're going to watch of Billy Schrauth. And then we're going to watch a little bit of Carson Hinsman here. So let's talk a little bit about Billy Schrauth and where his recruitment is right now. So Billy has a visit scheduled on June 4th for Wisconsin. He has a visit scheduled for June 15th to Ohio State. And then that is kind of a midweek visit. And then he has a visit for Notre Dame on the 18th. I am extremely confident in where Notre Dame stands on this one. I'm not concerned much at all about the 2 schools ahead of him. I think this is one that has been trending in Notre Dame's favor for a very, very long time. That's all I'm going to say about that one. But I believe of all the offensive linemen in this class, this is the one that I am absolutely most confident in when it comes to Notre Dame being able to close the deal. And then, so what would a guy like Billy Schrauth add to the class? I think he's athletic. He'd be very athletic player, very physical player. And I think he's got some versatility that I like. As I mentioned, he's a guard right now. I can see him playing center. He's also a guy that I think if you like, you have Blake Fisher. Blake Fisher's a freshman. You have Tosh Baker, who's technically a freshman when you consider he's got a COVID year. You could take some time with Billy if you wanted to bump him out to tackle. If you're like, hey, look, we love his athleticism. We think with some work he could be a tackle for us. I'd be okay with that if you miss on some other guys. I'd like to see them get a Jake Taylor, and then you can keep Billy inside. But I do think he brings some versatility to the table that I really like. He'd be a great, great addition for Notre Dame. And as I said, he's sort of a top 80 to 110 to 120 kind of player on my board. So he is a very, very talented football player.